Morning, everybody. How are you? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I'm Sean Butler. Bugsy Malone's up in front. This is your daily dose of Tottenham news, views, and transfer clues. Hope you're all happy and healthy doing the things you love. Please do me a favour, smash the like button for me on the video, like you always do. Smash the subscribe on the channel if you haven't already. Join the 12,000 people that have gone before. Welcome back to them, welcome to the new. Hit the notification bell and drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts on today's topics. Guys, I'm going to keep this one pretty short, I think. I always say that, but then we ramble on a little bit too long. There's not a lot to go on. Once again, some spurious links that I'm probably not going to bother talking too much about. But an interesting one, actually. An interesting link to the PSV Eindhoven midfielder Ibrahim Sangare, Ivorian Coast international, 26 years old, I'm going to say. Came through Toulouse. Back in 2020, he signed for PSV. He's a very, very important player for them. He's a really good talent. I'll be honest, he's someone that slipped through my radar a little bit. I remember hearing about him years ago, like 2018, 2019, when he was coming up. And everybody was raving about this guy and ranting on about this guy's the next insert name here. And to be honest, one of the names that he's often referred to or compared to is Moussa Dembele. But then when he went to PSV, I kind of forgot about him a little bit, stopped hearing about him until last season. Overall for PSV, he scored 118. Sorry, he scored a goal and an assist 22 times in 118 appearances, something like that. So it's about 1 in every 6 games he's contributing to the scoreline. But he is a defensive midfielder, 6'3", incredibly strong, incredibly tough tackling, brave defensive midfielder. Got a little bit of a disciplinary record problem from what I've seen. Gives away quite a lot of fouls, doesn't mind the odd booking here or there. But he's one of the top interceptors in the league. And then from going and looking at his most recent best bits compilations on the Y-Scout and digging into certain areas of his game, to be entirely honest, I feel like if we're going to sell Pierre and Hojbjerg, and we've spoken about the players we'd love to have in, like a Polinia or an Amrabat or whoever, a Calvin Phillips maybe, I think this guy could fit the bill. Brilliant range of passing, very kind of long-legged, as you'd expect for someone who's 6'3". He's brilliant in the air, which is an important attribute for, for the 6 who's going to hang back when we do advance up the ball and play that kind of 2-3-5 formation. You're going to have him hanging back, and if the press is successful in its efforts to require the goalkeeper to clear the ball, you're going to need people who can win the ball in the air in those situations. Obviously, we know we need better strength in the air. You've heard me say a few times now that I'm a little bit concerned about the shortening of our side or our squad. Having 5 or 6 players on the pitch in the first half against West Ham that were 5'9" or below is a concern for me. This sort of guy, this sort of signing, alongside someone like Van der Ven or Tapsoba, is going to rebalance that number. He's valued at about 35 million euros, according to Transfer Market. So if you add a little bit of juice on top of that, then maybe PSV would be able to do business with Tottenham. And look, I think he can compete with Bissouma. As I said to you the other day, I think Bissouma played against West Ham in that first half. He put in a fantastic shift. I think apparently Bissouma is referring to Ange Postecoglou as Uncle Ange, which is nice to see. Nice to see that players are immediately warming to him and that are enjoying doing what they're asked to do. As I've said before, I still have question marks over whether or not Bissouma can handle the defensive side of the 6 responsibilities as well as other players could. he wasn't really tested in West Ham. We'll see more about this as the pre-season goes on, but in any event, if you do lose Bissouma to an injury whilst Bentancur is still out, then the drop-off for the 6 role is quite worrying. I don't think that Ollie Skipp has the passing capabilities for it. Pape Sarr, of course, has impressed. It was brilliant on Tuesday. So there are options, but I would imagine that if we're going to lose Pierre Hojbjerg, you would think that Daniel Levy and Ange Postecoglou would want to get another midfielder in. Excuse me, guys, I've got a bit of I feel like I'm very fluey at the moment. And Ibrahim Sangare, for me, is a really interesting player. Really interesting player. I mean, he's got an absolute thunderbolt of a right foot on him. A couple of the goals that I've seen he scored last season, absolute monster shots from distance. I think he makes 3.2 tackles per game as a DM, which is super high percentages. As I say, he sort of ticks the box. He's not the perfect player. I think if you're going to call out some weaknesses, maybe his concentration is a little bit off at times, but you know, he's not going to be the perfect player at 35 million euros playing for PSV. It is what it is. You have to kind of appreciate the levels we're at. But for me, I think that his physicality, his strength, his presence, all of those things are assets that could be put to work really well in the Postecoglou 6, and his range of passing is extraordinarily clever. So I don't have any issues with it, and like I say, the links are emerging. I'm guessing it all depends on what happens with Pierre Hojbjerg, but that's an interesting one for me. Other news today is I'm not even going to talk about this guy because I'll be honest, I haven't had any time to look into him, and he plays in the Brazilian league. Pedro, Brazilian striker, made his way into the Brazilian squad for the World Cup. He's been linked with Tottenham should Tottenham lose Harry Kane. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know anything about him. I really don't. I'm sorry, I can't really update you on this one. I heard that he went to Fiorentina a few years ago. Didn't work out, so he went back to Brazil. And maybe now they're saying that he might be ready now for a big step up. But I've got no idea if it's a genuine link, if it's clickbait, or if it's sincere. But I haven't done my homework, so either way, I'm going to move on from him. And the only other real story, guys, is that apparently Tottenham have walked away from Max Kilman. We've ended our pursuit of him this morning, apparently, in some of the news outlets, because it looks like we are zoning in on one or two of our other targets. Allegedly, Ali Gold, I haven't seen him say this, but people are speaking about it on Twitter. Ali Gold has said that Tottenham haven't closed the door on the idea of getting both Van der Ven and Tapsoba. You've still got the noise out from Turkey that Victor Nelson is there to be done. That deal is done pending, first of all, Tottenham taking the option, but it also requires Davinson Sanchez being willing and ready to move to Turkey. Don't know if he'll do that. Don't know if he'll get the same amount of money, but he's only got a year left on his contract anyway, I think. So that might be one that we put in the kind of last chance saloon, the last moment, the last minute.com bucket, similar to Clement Longley. To be honest, on the Clement Longley deal, like, you know how I feel about it. I don't think he's the right fit. And I think all of this stuff, like, it's there to be taken advantage of should we need it last minute. I don't really feel like that's the respectful way of going about business. Like, the player doesn't know whether he's coming or going. The sheep think it's a bad idea. Farm jokes never get old. But yeah, I don't know what sort of I don't really know what sort of, hi guys. Yeah. I don't really know what sort of message it sends to players you're trying to sign when you're basically telling them that we'll have you, but only if we absolutely have to. And only if it's a free transfer. That's how little value we place on your name in our squad. Like, I don't know what sort of message that sends. I don't like the whole idea of this plate spinning. We'll agree 5 deals with 5 different clubs to disappoint 4 of them. You know, every other team's going to get messed around. You burn bridges with it that way. I think it's a useless and short-sighted trading strategy. But listen, what do I know? I'm just a guy walking his dog. So yeah, that's really about the long and the short of it today, guys. Still no movement on any transfers with regards to Van der Ven and Tapsoba. In summary, don't know much about Pedro, so I'm not going to waste your time talking about him. Ibrahim, Sangare, the links are emerging, coming out of some fairly decent outlets, and the noise makes sense. What I would say about Sangare, last thing, is that, you know, maybe there's a reason why he hasn't really been progressed or taken off of PSV's hands for such a long time. That he's been there for 3 or 4 years now, or 3 years. Maybe it's his time to move on. I don't know, from what I've seen of him, I think he's a really good player. But like I say, he did slip through my net. I remember hearing about him years ago, and then I haven't really followed his progress until this last season just gone. But that's it really, guys. I'll let you know if anything else comes out during the day. Other than that, you have yourselves a wonderful Thursday. Stay happy. Pursue all those things that you love with the people that you love pursuing them with, and I will see you on the next one. Like, subscribe and comment, guys, and as always, bye bye.